What do you think is the market going to develop in the next years in terms of renewable energies and especially of electromobility?
I think there is a great opportunity in renewables for electromobility. I think all the big automakers are very, very seriously working for it. But I think there is still some problem to solve on the storage issues. There are a lot of research gone in, and today the hybrids are doing very well. But still, I think we need to develop some high-end solutions on the storage front so that electromobility really becomes a solution without limitations that there are today in terms of distance, time, refill, recharge, and those issues. So I see a great future and a huge market coming our way in the next few years.
Okay, I see it in the same way, but we have, I think, to see it different for the renewables and for the e-mobility. They have different issues and different opportunities, of course. Where renewables depend very much on subsidies and incentive. Of course, there are some renewables which are on grid parity, but not all of them, and most of them still are going down and up in the market as the subsidies go up and down. And we have seen the examples of Spain, for example. They announced they will go down with the subsidies, and immediately the solar industry went down there. Just one example, and that will happen in other countries as well. Where for the e-mobility, it depends on another issue, and that's the infrastructure. There is interest at people to have electric mobiles, but at the other side, if there is no infrastructure, they will not buy it. And there are some good examples, like Estonia, for example, where they have now installed the infrastructure so that you have no problem to charge your car where you want. So in a cycle of 20 minutes, you always have a charging station in the whole country. So and now, of course, there will come a market because people will buy electric cars because they are nice, they are sexy, they are fast in acceleration. So Tesla made the first step, I think. They made this really a nice car. And this will come. And if you look to China, for example, there is a 5 years plan as well, how to start with. And they have started already in different towns with pilot installations for this e-mobility. And there as well, first infrastructure has to come before the car makers really make a big business. So, and the renewables can support them with the supply of the energy, of course. And both fit quite well together because the cars can be used for storage, as my colleague said, and as the renewables, most of them are emitted, and it's good to have the storage devices, and that could be done by the cars, for example.
So what are currently the differences in India, in Europe, especially in terms of smart grids?
India, frankly speaking, has a long way to go in smart grids. Today, we don't have the smart grid infrastructure. Of course, as my colleague was saying a bit earlier when we were speaking, that smart grid means and looks very different in different countries. I mean, the whole definitions, the infrastructure, the practical way of dealing with the smart grids are different in different countries. But you basically need fundamentally a stable grid system, a very, very fine architecture of distribution and connectivities. So India still are in the very fundamental stages of those areas, and therefore we have a lot to learn and pick up quickly in that. Whereas in the West, in Europe, in America, it is already on in various ways in various places, and in Europe also, smart grids has taken up in a big way. I think it is one of the areas where today the West and the East can cooperate in a big way, because a lot of business opportunities the West can get in the East, because there is no alternative really other than having smart grids in the near future, because to use renewables effectively and efficiently, smart grid becomes a must. So I think it is In terms of current positions, yes, India as well as most of the eastern parts or the emerging markets have a lot to do in the smart grid area. They are not really in a position to adapt and accept smart grid right now. But Europe and the West can always bring in technologies and financial instruments and also solutions which can accelerate this process. And once it starts happening, then I think it's a extremely good mechanism to solve our energy mix problem and most effective utilization and from the energy efficiency part also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even as he said, different areas in the world have different focus now in this smart grid discussion and in their activities. But at the end, they have the same target to make the grid more stable, more intelligent, using more IT power and automation in the grid to make it stable, to make it available for everybody to have energy when it's needed. And today we see the starting point is different. If I look to the US, then it's this overaged infrastructure where they have to cope with that. But with more intelligence, they can get this better under control. Internet of Things will help them. That means every device will have a sensor and making predictive maintenance and condition monitoring is then possible. And this big data, what are generated then in this kind of grid, can be handled with the new ways how the software will handle that kind of big data, where many startups are working on that topic as well. Where if I look on the other side of the world in China, there it's more how to get the energy from where it's produced to the big cities at the East Coast. So there it's more the transmission, the ultra high voltage. This is more the part of their smart grid at the moment and getting that stable and under control. Where in Europe we are fighting with having too much renewables maybe in the grid, where when we have too much wind and too much solar, the grid gets unstable. So keeping that under control is our target at the moment. But as I said, the common denominator is getting more stable, more reliable, and more intelligent. And energy efficiency will help in that as well. And smart grid doesn't start at the generation and end at the meter or at the utility. It goes into home automation as well. That you can then control even your consumption, and maybe when we have a spot price on electricity, that you even can handle the usage when you need electricity just via the smartphone. So it goes into home automation as well. There's no border on that. So there's a lot what will come in the future as well, what we can see in development already.